In tonight's Tax Insider, calls to reform the IRS. Yesterday was tax day, and Senator Portman took the opportunity to introduce new legislation. His bill seeks to secure the due process rights of taxpayers. Here with more is David Williams, president of the nonpartisan Taxpayers Protection Alliance. Dave, explain this measure for us. How would it work?
Well, first of all, Morris, tax day is probably the scariest time of year. I mean, it goes way beyond Halloween as to when people are the most frightened, mainly because it's really not the dollar amount that people are sending to the IRS. It's that they're afraid when they put their tax returns in that something is going to be wrong, and it's the power of the IRS. And this is what Portman's bill and what his language does. It really changes the tables to make sure that the taxpayers have more say in when they submit their taxes, and if there's any sort of disagreement with their taxes. There's really two key provisions. One is an appeals, that taxpayers can appeal decisions by the IRS, but also it goes after these outside counsel that the IRS is hiring to go after businesses, which is costing taxpayers millions and millions of dollars.
Now, the bill would also prevent the IRS from hiring outside law firms for audits. Why is that important?
This is critically important because the IRS started this, I guess, about a decade ago when it hired outside counsel to go after Microsoft. Now, this is the first time they've ever done this in the history of the IRS. They used outside counsel, and they were very secretive about this. We submitted Freedom of Information Act requests to the IRS, and they have refused to give us information. I shouldn't say refused. They said it'll cost you $17,000 for us to process this information. And guess what?
You broke the story for us. I remember now.
We did. And they may not have the information, so you're going to pay $17,000, and they may not even have any information for us to use. So this gets to the heart of transparency, but also, as I mentioned, millions of dollars that taxpayers are paying for this outside counsel to go after a business, and a business that wants to pay their taxes. Here's the rub, is that Microsoft's like, okay, what do we owe? We will pay the taxes, and the IRS has refused to settle.
Seems to me when you're hiring outsiders, they have to have some kind of a carrot on the stick, so they're looking for a commission, some brownie points for the IRS. They get part of the cut. I don't know, but it sounds fishy. What does this have to do with former IRS Commissioner Lois Lerner?
It has everything to do with Lois Lerner, because this gets to the abuse of the IRS. People are afraid to question the IRS, and especially when it comes to appeals, whether it's individual taxes or these groups that are trying to get their nonprofit status. It really sets up a situation where taxpayers have a greater voice, and someone like Lois Lerner, that can't happen again if this language is introduced.